Hello sailors, I'm Captain Tom Tersey from the Maryland School of Sailing and Seamanship. The super electronics of today have entered full force into the world of sailing, and sailors need to adapt to the changes that this has brought into how we acquire navigation data and of the many new options that are readily available. But with these new features come a bit of confusion on how to best adapt them to our navigation planning and practices. The new electronics are readily available to anyone who can afford the cost, and then a mountain full of new and enticing features come tumbling out of this cornucopia. However, this can be a double-edged sword that produces significant benefit, but can also be a distraction to the basic seamanship essentials of operating a boat at sea. Modern sailors need to balance these competing forces and establish personal practices that use the best of both worlds, slick electronics and seamanship essentials. This video offers an introduction to these super electronics and how they can be coordinated with your basic seamanship and navigation practices at sea. Let's take a look.
Electronic navigation is slick but risky. And the reason I say that is because people relying entirely on electronics and not doing their due diligence preparation ahead of time with paper charts and looking up stuff in the light list and notices to mariners and all that, they get into trouble. That's exactly what happened with Vestas, the round-the-world ocean racing boat crewed by a professional crew, professional navigator. They ran up onto this reef in the middle of the ocean. And when you do that on a 12-inch computer screen, it's very, very hard to examine in detail all the areas of your route, because when you zoom out, you lose detail, and when you zoom in, you lose perspective. But, as I say here, the electronics are slick. You know, they do some great stuff for you, but you have to be thoughtful about how you use them and to what degree you depend on them. So when we do our navigation preps for a cruise, we do paper and pencil prep, and I'd like to just recap what that includes. First off, you can go to this YouTube video of ours, Nav Preps for an Advanced Coastal Cruise, and that goes through this in chapter and verse as far as paper and pencil preparation, and then translating that information to the electronics. So we plot the waypoints and the tracks on paper charts. This is where we want to sail, and we examine the route for hazards and cautions that abound around that route. We identify nearby geographic locations and nav aids, and then we check the nav aids and the light list and the notices to mariners to make sure that we know what the changes are that may have occurred between the chart and the reality. We measure the distances and directions in degrees true and convert that to PSC for steering. And we enter that data into our deck logbook. And we're going to use that deck logbook during the cruise as a reference, as an index to the information that we want. We don't enter a lot of information, but we enter certain key information, which I will show you. We study the previous information to educate ourselves on the route to be sailed. And then we enter waypoints and tracks into the electronic chart plotter based on this preparation and study that we just did. During the cruise, we use the paper charts and the electronic plotter to monitor our navigation. So this is more or less the process that we go through. And right here is an example of that. Here's just the beginning of a cruise. Here's Chester River, our home port area. And we plotted our waypoints and tracks and so forth. And here's waypoint 1, waypoint 2. And then in our logbook, here's the basic simple information that we include here, because this ends up being a tabulation, if you will, or a menu of other information. So the chart that we're using at this point, and on that chart I have waypoint 1, 2, and 3. This is just an example of those first three. And waypoint number 1 is a red 2 beacon at this location. The light list number of that beacon, because if I want to look up more details during the cruise of that beacon, all I have to do is flip out the light list and go numerical order down to number 26,700, and I find that light. I don't have to write all the information in the book, because then it gets crowded and confusing, and people have little notes and they write on the back of the sheet and the top of the sheet and upside down. And what we're trying to do is just keep certain concise information to lead us to the details that we need them if we need them. I plot the course from waypoint 1 to 2 in true, convert that to compass for steering. I measure the distance from 1 to 2 as 0.6 miles, and I do the same thing for all of our subsequent waypoints and directions. But this is the basic information we keep on the route that we're going to be sailing. The second grouping of information we keep are the things we have to look up in the coast pilots, in the cautions and restrictions that may show on the chart as we chase those down in the coast pilots and the notices to mariners. So we do all of this advanced preparation ahead of time, and we're now somewhat knowledgeable in the route we're going to be sailing. We then go to the electronic navigation, and the things that we need for electronic navigation are listed here basically: electronic charts, chart updates, navigation software to operate those charts as a navigation tool, and either a portable computer or the mobile's iPad or Android, or a multifunction plotter. And the multifunction plotters are normally hardwired into the boat. Let's first talk about the charts. The NOAA charts are the gold standard. NOAA, in collaboration with the Coast Guard, the Corps of Engineers, and other related agencies, they have the database. They have the original database. Anybody in the commercial world that is producing charts, proprietary charts, are going to base their charts initially on what the NOAA data is, and then they might add their own bells and whistles to that to do some other things. But the NOAA charts and the NOAA database is the gold standard. That's where it's at. So the future of NOAA charts, we have the PDF charts that we have been looking up. These expire as of the beginning of January 2025. What will then ensue is a central database for all NOAA charts. And that database exists now, and I'm going to show you how to use it and how to access it. The electronic navigation charts, the ENC, are the future, and this is not only the US, but is conducted in conjunction with other nations, and we can also access the electronic database from other nations as well. So the PDF chart downloads, this is what we're doing today. We can download a full-size PDF chart, can be printed commercially up to 36 inches wide, and then there are booklet-sized PDF charts. These you can print at home on your color printer. So this process will end January 2025. There's a tab here, Future of NOAA Charts. This is a whole description of what they're planning to do in the future. It goes on and on and on. Lots of references to it and so forth. So within this, under Chart Locator, I go there. And that brings me to this page, and here you have two tabs to choose from: a PDF tab, RNC PDF, or electronic. I'm going to initially talk about the PDFs, just to refresh your thoughts on what we're currently able to do. And I'm going to go to here, this is Chesapeake Bay. I'm going to go to this chart 12224, click that, and that gives me on this sidebar here information about that chart, and it gives me these options. I can download the PDF chart. I can hit that, download that chart in full, in high quality digital form, and I can use this to print the chart. So that's one thing that currently exists. I can also go to BC here where it says booklet charts, and I can take that same chart, and it's broken down into multiple rectangles, and you can print it on your home computer in full color and have that as a small reference booklet of that particular chart. You can do that for any of these PDF charts. So that is what we're doing today, what we're currently able to do today with PDF chart downloads. Then we have the NOAA custom charts, and this is where you can design your own chart using the NOAA database, the electronic database. And you can create PDF charts. So these will become the PDF charts of the future. And I'll show you that as well. So I'm going to come back here, I'm going to go down to NOAA Custom Charts. Now this is a tool for creating your own PDF chart of an area. And you can design the details to your preference, and I'm going to go through that with you. I'm going back to the same location to Cape Charles. I had that chart number 12224, and here's Cape Charlestown right here. And I'm going to come over here to this sidebar and select, there's two gears here. I'm going to select the little gear, and this is where I'm able to set up my parameters for the chart that I want to design. Now you see this is defaulted to a scale of 25,000. I'm going to change that just to make it smaller so it doesn't take so long to download. I'm going to make it, let's say 12,000. A scale of 1 to 12,000 means 1 inch on the chart is 12,000 inches on the earth. And then I take my next choice and I can choose my paper size. So I'm going to just pick right now 17 by 22. That's the size I'd like. And I like it in portrait. I can also choose landscape. I'm going to click this icon here and bring it over here, and that gives me a set of crosshairs, and I can set those crosshairs where I want it. And it's going to take a minute or so to create that chart, what they call extent. That is the extent of the chart. Now I can click this hand and I can move this to wherever I want it. So I'm going to put it right here. All right. So I now have boxed in the area that I want the chart of. I made the size of it and so forth. And up here it says I've got one chart ready to export to PDF creation. I'm going to click that and I'm going to hit this icon here, and it's now creating that PDF of that chart. And this takes about a minute usually. And one of the things I like about the chart here is that it's using the Coast Guard symbols as opposed to the international symbols. When you see this in this NCC, you see these are all the symbols that we're familiar with for these buoy designations and beacons and so forth. When you go to the purely electronic charts, you're seeing the international symbols. Now they're covered in chart number 1 book, but they are different than what I'm accustomed to and probably what most of you are accustomed to. Okay, so this says export completed, and if I open that, I get it, and here's the little chart that I just created. Now I'm going to take that and I'm going to save it to file. I'm going to right click, print, go down here and say save, and I'm going to save it to here, save. I can go back to my file then, and here's the one I just created, AGS chart number 1. So if I open that, I'll see that PDF chart that I just created. Remember, it's only a little piece that I created, but here are 2 beacons showing. Here's another beacon here. And then attached to that is a bunch of additional pages for information about that chart. Some of them are general boilerplate, but some of them are specific to this chart. All right. I can take that chart, take it to a printer, have it printed off, and there's my PDF chart of the future. So that's NOAA custom charts, and I can do that for the entire NOAA database. Now then, once you have the charts and the electronic charts, you have to have a way of navigating with those. So what I can do here, I can look at electronic chart sources. And the free charts are the NOAA RNC PDF that we just looked at, or the ENC, which is electronic database. And then some other countries have also RNCs and ENCs. And then some countries charge a fee, and there are commercial proprietary charts that charge fees also. But again, from my perspective, the NOAA is the gold standard, and that's the ones I'm going to use. Once you have the charts, you need electronic charting software, ECS. For recreational use, I'm going to show you 2 examples. There are many available, but I'm going to show you what's called OpenCPN and Rose Point Coastal Explorer. OpenCPN, as the name implies, is free. There's no cost for that. You can right now today go to OpenCPN and open that and download their navigation program at no cost. They do ask for a contribution, and you can do this on these platforms. Android, I'm not sure of. And then there are third-party peripherals for this also that you can plug in. There's about 40 of them. So OpenCPN, let's look at that. This is their website, so from this you can download. You can go here and download their app. And here is OpenCPN. Now this shows a general map, and of course I can zoom in on this and see throughout the world. And these colored areas are where I have downloaded previously some charts to these areas. But I'm going to go to a new area and show you how to download, and we'll see the boxes show up here. So basically, I'm going to go to this gear up here, Options, Charts there, and then I have Chart Catalogs. These are chart catalogs that I have previously downloaded. I'm going to download a new catalog to show you how to do it. So here is Chart Downloader, and it says Add Catalog. So I go there and it gives me this menu here, and I'm going to focus right now on the US, NOAA, and inland charts. It gives me the choice of RNC and ENC charts. So I'm going to go to ENC, and I have the choice of Coast Guard districts or by states or by regions. So I'm going to go to states and open that up. Scroll down the bottom of this. I'm going to choose Washington State. And when I choose that, there's going to be a file number that shows up in this box here, which is really a file number, file location on my computer. It automatically puts it there. And you'll see that appear here. So I'll choose Washington Catalog, and you see this, ENC US Washington, and I will say OK to that. I now have the Washington catalog shown on my tabulation here. Now it says here, please update first before you can use it, because they want to make sure you have the latest catalog. So I'm going to hit update. That updates the catalog. It now says it's updated to this date. That's the last time they updated the catalog, February 3rd of this year. And then I'm going to go to download charts. I have this highlighted, Washington highlighted. I'm going to go to download charts, and it gives me a whole catalog of 72 charts, 0 updated, 72 new, 72 selected. So I'm going to just download one chart. So if I right click here, I will deselect all of those, and then I'm going to just choose one, Puget Sound. Choose that, and I will download selected chart, and you see it downloaded here. So it's got that chart that I just selected, Puget Sound, is now updated. Everything else is new on my computer and not updated, but this Puget Sound is updated. I'm going to now apply that, and it does some electronic magic here. And I'm going to say OK. And I now see a box up here. So this is that chart, electronic chart that I just downloaded. And you see that this is using the international symbols. These are not our normal US symbols, the Coast Guard symbols. But if I go to this area and download a PDF, I'll get them in the US Coast Guard symbols. In any event, here is Puget Sound area. What I can do now is plot a route. And I hit this icon here, create route. And it gives me a little pencil here. See, I have a pencil I'm controlling. And I can make a waypoint. If I click that, here's a waypoint. I can now go to another location, put another waypoint. Let's say I put it here, and let's say I put it here. And if I double click that, Would finish that. So I have the route, and if I highlight the route, if I double click that, it will give me this list of waypoints that I just created in that route, and I can name the route. So I'll just call it Route 1. You can name it whatever you like. So I have now Route 1, and if I highlight this, you see it says route and it says Route 1 on there. It gives me the total length of the route from the first to the last waypoint. So I now have created a route, and I can do various things with that route. On that chart, I can also look up various preferences. So for example, if I double click this buoy, it gives me information on it. I already see on the screen certain descriptions of that buoy, but it also here gives me further descriptions. I can also go to just a spot and click that. Well, it gave me the nearest buoy, but it also gives me a restricted area, and it tells me about that. So there's various information that I can pick up off the chart itself, off the electronic chart itself. There's an example of electronic chart. This is free. As I say, you can do it right now. You can download it. You can download the charts. You can begin using that on your PC or your Mac. That's OpenCPN.org. Then we also have Coastal Explorer. If I go here to Rose Point, and Rose Point ECS C4 professional mariners and commercial fleet operators, or Coastal Explorers for recreational, and a Nemo gateway in which you can interface other devices to your computer, like radar and depth and speed and so forth, the same as you do on a multifunction display on your boat that's hardwired in. So you have that ability here. So I have Coastal Explorer downloaded. You can get a 30-day free trial or spend $379 for it. And once I've downloaded the charts, even with OpenCPN, I can use them on either platform, either software, or I can go to Coastal Explorer's download system. It's very similar to OpenCPN's. Multifunction displays, MFDs, are usually hardwired into your boat and can connect to various sensors, including GPS, radar, depth, wind, speed, satellite, and much more. And they display this information on screen in graphic, text, and audible form. Navigation charts are also displayed and can include navigation data such as GPS position, waypoints, courses, distances, speed, and much more. MFDs can run the gamut of sizes from 4-inch screens on up to 16-inch and larger on larger boats. Many boat owners mount these large screens in the cockpit at the helm station to distract the helmsman while on watch, when his eyes should be looking mostly outside of the boat at other traffic, obstructions, and whatever else happens to be out there. I think that a preferred location for the MFD is below deck at the nav station for use by the on-watch navigator, and for the helmsman, provide a minimum of essential electronics at the cockpit helm station. Multifunction displays are provided by a number of companies, including B&G, Furuno, Garmin, Lowrance, Simrad, Raymarine, and others. And most MFDs use proprietary navigation charts provided by either CMAP, Garmin, Navionics, MapTech, NVMap, and some others as well. Furuno provides the only MFD that I have found that uses the easily updatable NOAA RNC and ENC charts. A problem that I find with proprietary charts is that they are slow in making updates, and while these companies advertise that they have made thousands of updates to their charts, it is hard to determine how frequent, how recent, and how complete these updates are. I have found some proprietaries that are up to a year out of date on critical nav aids such as port entry. So if you are using proprietary charts, it is advisable to have paper or digital charts available that you know are up to date for verification of critical information and nav aids at critical points in your cruise. Better yet, use the equipment and software, MFD or computer, that allow use of the easily updatable NOAA RNC and ENC charts. Well, I hope you have found this brief of electronic navigation basics helpful to your future sailing and boating activities, and thank you for participating.